Don't be confused. This is not the Oscars. Hello, everybody. I'm Jane Skinner. It is Sunday night, and it is time for our list of nominees, those Fox News segments we've deemed worthy of appearing on Sunday Best. Now, we know there are plenty of interviews and stories good enough to be named the best, but we only have an hour, so we really have to pick the cream of the crop. If we haven't included your favorite this week, please don't be too upset. We begin tonight with The O'Reilly Factor. Movies that have caused controversy. Freaks, Midnight Cowboy, Last Tango in Paris, just to name a few. Well, now comes what may end up to be the granddaddy of them all, Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. Bill O'Reilly got the man himself to come into the no-spin zone. Here's part of that sit-down with the actor and his view of The Passion of the Christ.
The lead character, Jim Caviezel?
Caviezel, yeah.
Caviezel.
Yeah.
Should be nominated for an Academy Award as Best Actor. Okay,
sure.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy's performance is...
It's something else.
Stunning. Caviezel said in an interview that you knew while you were shooting this film that this film was going to ignite controversy all over the place. And you knew. You went going in, you knew. How did you know? Well,
I think any time you delve into the sort of religion, politics, as you well know, you're going to, touch a few nerves. I wasn't. Now, and this is the honest truth. I didn't think it was a small film, okay? This is a small film. It looks big because I know how to do it. But this ignites stuff, like, it surprised me. I found it staggering. I mean, every morning I open up the newspaper expecting to find a digitally altered photograph of myself sharing a cigarette with a handsome farm animal, you know? I mean, it's like, it's like mudslinging, nasty editorials and all
the
this
nastiest
kind of
I've ever seen.
You know, and hey, it's been character building, I have to tell you.
It's rough on your family, though.
Sure, but again, character building.
But anything worthwhile, you have to suffer for, I believe.
It's called suffering for art.
No, I believe that anything in life,
yeah, that's true.
That's worthwhile, you have to suffer for.
Yeah, you got to take a few whacks.
Yeah, you do. What did you learn from all this?
I learned that, well, have another Bible script handy because the studios are all going to want to do it now. I don't know. That's. I'm sorry, I'm being flip.
No, it's all right.
What did I learn? Whew, boy, I'm not even sure if I know yet. I'll tell you what I did need to learn was tolerance, and I think I've been actually given a daily opportunity to practice that, and I know that sounds almost like a backhanded slap, and it is in a way because I haven't been successful at it every day. Some days I'm pissed off.
Oh, you bet. I know exactly how you feel.
And just the injustice of some stuff. But that's part of it. You got to take the good with the bad. In fact, I filmed a scene after the film was over, way after it was over, and I inserted it in the film. And it's the bit where he's on the mountain and he's saying, hey, you got to love everybody. You can't just like people that like you. You got to like people that hate you too. Otherwise, what's the use? And I put that in the film, relating it to a lesson that I had to learn.
Did you get there? Do you like the people who hate you?
I don't like them, but I love them.
Yeah, I know. I forgive them, but I don't like them.
Well, you've got to do that. Otherwise, it'll eat you alive.
Back at the book segment tonight, CBS commentator Andy Rooney called Mel Gibson a wacko and a nutcase in his commentary a few days ago. It comes on the heels of Rooney blaming Americans for the Janet Jackson exposition. And I got to feel maybe the guy's losing it or something over there.
Well, I think in terms of the Mel Gibson movie, whoever really has the mantle of being the cultural underdog wins the PR battle. And right now, I really think that that's Mel Gibson. Basically, you can be defined by who your enemies are. And one good way to get the American heartland for you is to pick a fight with the New York Times and Andy Rooney.
Gibson didn't pick this fight with Rooney. I mean, well, Rooney went after Gibson in a very personal way. To mock and demean him. But you do raise an interesting point. Rooney's audience is middle American, fairly conservative, and I'm going to myself, I think Rooney's at the end of the road. He's a committed secularist, we all know that, and he just wants to go out with a big bang.
Well, Bill, you know, a lot of battles come down as, no matter how we try to intellectualize them, to I don't like what you stand for, you don't like what I stand for. And I think that Mel Gibson, while he didn't pick the fight per se, by making a movie that is very controversial, that is, in a sense, picking a fight. And I think what Andy Rooney is doing, and you see this at the New York Times as well, is reacting in a very visceral way, and it's very difficult to debate this issue without very deep visceral emotions.
Okay, but wait. You can debate the movie and say the movie's not worthy and it falls down here and it's bad there without calling a guy a nutcase and looking into the camera saying, how many millions are you going to make off the death of Jesus? That's over the line into the ad hominem attack.
But it's the way the culture war is fought. It is the way the culture war is fought. You can't simply just debate the issue, although we would like to. Right. It's impossible.
Yes, you can debate the issue. You can. These people choose not to.
Not your average blockbuster, that's for sure. For more of Bill's interview with Mr. Gibson, tune into Fox Magazine tonight at 11 Eastern. And coming up later on Sunday Best, we will show you Greta Van Sustren's interview with a critic who reviewed The Passion of the Christ. Up next, you can hear it from the horse's mouth as our Sean Hannity debates his latest bestseller with, well, who better than Hannity Colmes?
Sean Hannity's new book, it will be a bestseller, Deliver Us from Evil, Defeating Terrorism, Despotism and Liberalism. I got mine, half price. Thank you very much. By the way. Let me see. I did sign it. To Colmes, my favorite lib. Thanks for all your help, Sean Hannity. I thank you for saying Hannity. I know which Sean it is.
All right.
Welcome back to Sunday Best. To history's great debaters, Lincoln Douglas, Kennedy Nixon, Bryant Darwin, you can add Hannity and Colmes. The boys went at it on the eve of the release of Sean's new book, Deliver Us from Evil. It was a good old-fashioned one-on-one. You know, right versus left, the sparks were flying.
Well, his first book, Let Freedom Ring, was a New York Times bestseller. His new book is sure to be a success, already doing well on Amazon. Joining us for a Hannity and Colmes exclusive, how did we get him? The author of Deliver Us from Evil, Defeating Terrorism, Despotism, and Liberalism, my co-host and friend, Sean Hannity. Congratulations.
We can be friends.
That's right. Let me show you one thing you do say. Here's on page 5. Indeed, the greatest threat to our resolve today in the war on terror is the political liberalism and selfish opportunism of Democrats. Are you saying that Democrats are a greater threat to terror?
I'm not saying that. The greatest threat to our resolve today in the war on terror, look, read it, is political liberalism and selfish opportunity. Let me tell you what it means.
Is that a greater threat, though, than other countries who would do us harm?
Let me tell you what I mean by this. And this is a serious topic because you know what, Alan? I have 2 young children.
Right.
Nothing has impacted me in my life more than what happened to this country on 9/11. And that memory, those nights that I broadcast this program from that tragedy, from that declaration of war, will forever be with me. And in part, this is what this was about. We were together in Afghanistan. We were pretty. You agreed. You were supportive.
All of America, all the world was.
Here's what bothers me. I'm not talking about fringe people like Michael Moore in the liberal establishment. I am talking about when you have Ted Kennedy, who is the leading Democratic senator, saying that the president concocted a war for political gain. That is so beyond the pale. When you have, as we have, Al Gore screaming at the top of his lungs how he betrayed us, how the president preordained a war with Iraq prior to 9/11 even happening. When you have Dennis Kucinich saying the president authorized the bombing of civilians in this war, that he wants to get us away.
Hey, wait a
minute. Dennis Kucinich is a presidential candidate. Yeah. Howard Dean put forward the theory, let me finish this, that we might have been warned about 9/11 ahead of time. The fact that he even repeated that. And what I'm saying here is that Democrats out of power have now politicized our national security. I have a whole chapter in this book about that memo that I had leaked to me from the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence that talks at length about not how to preserve and protect liberty, but how to hurt George W. Bush.
You paint a very damning picture of Democrats here, and I think you take some of the most extreme statements that Democrats make,
leaders,
and you paint all Democrats with that brush. Let me show you something else you say early in the book on page 3. To liberals, people like Saddam and Osama bin Laden are not morally depraved murderers, but men driven to their bad acts by the injustices of Western society. Interesting concept. Now, you do a good job you define liberalism as you think it is,
yeah.
but that's
we've had people
that's
on the
not
show.
the way liberals really think.
But in that case, it's not all liberals. We have people on the show that believe the United States caused the antipathy and the hatred towards America, and they view it as
those are extremists, though. That's not mainstream Democrat thought.
I want to play a tape because it's my show. I can't do this on Charlie Gibson tomorrow. I'm on Good Morning America tomorrow if you want to watch.
Sure, go ahead.
But I want to play a tape and what I mean. That this is the mainstream of your party. These are your leaders: Kennedy, Kucinich, Dean, Gore. This is what I mean. Roll the tape about Dean and.
We will not give up in New Hampshire. We will not give up in South Carolina. We will not give up in Arizona or New Mexico, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. We will not.
Let me run one other one here.
But there's nothing wrong with what Dean did there. He was energizing his troops.
But he did suggest the president knew about 9/11 ahead of time. Let me run Hillary and then run. And this is what I'm saying here. One more.
They have the most wrong-headed economic policies that we've seen since Herbert Hoover, and we're beginning to pay a price as a nation for these policies. I am sick and tired of people who say that if you debate and you disagree with this administration, somehow you're not patriotic, and we should stand up and say we are Americans and we have a right to debate and disagree with any administration.
She's right. She's right. She has a philosophical disagreement, the worst economy since Herbert Hoover. That is her opinion. It is clearly a point of view you don't agree with. Howard Dean was energizing his base. He wasn't doing anything.
Here's what I'm trying to say. For the sake of the audience, the modern liberalism has abandoned the tradition of people like FDR and Truman and Scoop Jackson. Zell Miller points it out in his bestseller. And what I'm trying to say here, Alan, and this is very important that our audience understand this, I am saying that we have politicized the most important issue of our day, your party, your leaders, and their comments are frankly almost bordering on unforgivable.
We disagree about who's to thank you very much.
By the way.
Let me see. So
I did sign it.
To Colmes, my favorite lib. Thanks for all your help, Sean Hannity. I thank you for saying Hannity. I know which Sean it is.
With all these books from Sean, Allen, and O'Reilly, we are now starting a Fox News reading room. Up next, you heard what the director has to say about The Passion. But what about the critics? Greta goes on the record with one of the best.
In your opinion, was the violence gratuitous, art, or important in that it was part of the movie to make sort of the mission of the movie to get the point across to the viewers?
Greta, I thought that the violence in the movie was some of the most excessive violence I've ever seen in a movie. It's so beyond the norm of even ordinarily violent movies, and we see many, many violent movies that it's. I thought it was not just gratuitous but pornographic.
Well, welcome back to Sunday Best from Fox News Channel, America's Newsroom. Earlier, you heard Mel Gibson, the director and co-writer of the controversial film The Passion of the Christ, share his vision with Bill O'Reilly. Now hear what one movie critic thinks of the film. This is Jonathan Foreman as he went on the record with Greta Van Susteren.
Mel Gibson's highly anticipated and highly controversial film, The Passion of the Christ, hits theaters tomorrow. Gibson spoke out to Fox's Bill O'Reilly about the violence in the movie.
I think everyone has a different capacity for what they can withstand. I was very conscious. Well, firstly, it needed to be, for me, shocking, and I wanted to push the audience to the edge. And my gift, I think, as a filmmaker, is to try and, if you're going to push them to the edge, try and hold their hand a little bit. And if it's going to be horrible and ugly, try and make the violence, try and find the beauty in it, try and find the lyricism in it, and also implant within the story many escape hatches, places where you can go when it gets too much.
Joining us from the New York Post is film critic Jonathan Foreman. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, Greta.
Jonathan, you've actually seen the entire movie, right?
Oh, absolutely. I reviewed it. It was in the paper this morning.
Okay, good. All right. Now, in terms of the violence that Mel Gibson was just talking about, In your opinion, was the violence gratuitous, art, or important in that it was part of the movie to make sort of the mission of the movie to get the point across to the viewers?
Greta, I thought that the violence in the movie was some of the most excessive violence I've ever seen in a movie. It's so beyond the norm of even ordinarily violent movies, and we see many, many violent movies that it's. I thought it was not just gratuitous but pornographic.
Can you describe, why you say that? Because I mean, we haven't seen it. The rest of us haven't seen it.
Well, there's some of the footage you're showing now. I'd say about 90% of the movie shows whippings and beatings and stabbings and gougings and blood pouring out, and it's kind of relentless. There are a few moments where you do get arrested from it, but it's so excessive. It's like one of those movies where they show a rape scene that goes on and on and on, and you think, I understand the point you're making, but whoever made this seems to be enjoying it too much. I mean, there's a scene where Jesus is scourged, which is very brief in the Gospels, but in the movie it goes on for about 10 minutes of hooks tearing out flesh out of Jesus' chest, and it's after all, almost numbing. It's so horrifying.
What's it like? How big an audience did you watch it with when you previewed it?
I stood with about 30 people in a screening room.
And what was it like walking out? I mean, what were the others saying to you, and so what was the demeanor of people leaving?
Well, Greta, they were critics, and they're not quite like normal people, but...
I'll hold you that one.
Thank you, but they were... I think a lot of them felt they'd been bashed about a bit. They'd been beaten up by all the violence. I mean, some of them were disgusted by it. I think a few people were very moved by it, and there are moving things in this movie. I mean, it is an intrinsically moving story. It's just the one that's told with what seems to be too little spirituality, too little sense of the importance and meaning of Christ's sacrifice, and just too much relish of this violence and brutality. And who knows what audiences will actually make of it, but certainly the audience I saw it with seemed to be sort of disgusted.
Jonathan, it's going to open in about 2,800 theaters tomorrow. I mean, is that sort of the norm, or is that a lot of, I mean, I don't know the movie business well enough. Is that a lot of movie theaters, average, or not so many?
That's a lot of movie theaters. That's how blockbusters open. That's as big, not many movies open more than that. And this is going to be a huge movie, and of course, as you may have read, about $30 million worth of tickets have already been sold, already been reserved.
What is it? Is it hard to watch because it's subtitles?
I'm used to that, again, as a film critic. I see a lot of foreign movies, but it's actually, it doesn't really bother me at all, and it adds to the realism of the movie, I think, in a lot of ways. And if you're not used to seeing subtitles, it's probably sort of strange, but that didn't bother me, and so much of it is visual. I mean, so much of the story isn't even told in dialogue, it's just seeing the spectacle.
Do you want to see it again?
No, I don't actually want to see it again. In fact, I'd be happy never to see it again. I'll remember lots of those scenes without prompting for a very long time. It's except not in a way that is good. I mean, there are many times you see a moving scene, you think, oh, this is great. I mean, films like Mystic River woke me up at night days later. This just sort of. Yeah, it was upsetting, but not in a way that was beautiful or lyrical, to use Mel Gibson's terms. And I think it's very strange to say that you see beauty and lyricism in cruelty.
As always, we report, you decide, and we want to hear from you. Have you seen or do you plan to see The Passion of the Christ, or are you going to skip this controversial Mel Gibson flick? Email us at sundaybest@foxnews.com. Up next, as they say, he is the spare, not the heir, but Britain's Prince Harry, Minnesota, is incredibly beautiful. She's one heck of a newscaster. But now you can add recording artists to her list of accomplishments. Lauren's new CD of classical piano is out, and so she guest starred on her own show.
When you're not doing the headlines, are you downstairs writing music?
I don't write music. I actually just, I just play what other people have written.
Oh, really?
And there's a specific talent for composition, which I don't have.
She moonlights in the news. She's really a concert pianist, and you're here to play with us. Is this piano any good?
Yeah, I think it's the top of the line. A little Steinway & Sons here. Actually, they're celebrating their 150th anniversary this year. I don't know. I just thought I would get in that little plug.
Yeah, mention Lauren's name, and she gets 10% off on the next one. So now, what are you going to play for us this morning?
Well, this is something off the CD, a very simple little tune by Brahms. It's one of his waltzes.
All right, well, we're getting out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, classic beauty, Lauren Greene.
Okay.
while we're with Fox and Friends, a big congratulations to Edie, who had baby number 5, a boy. Coming up at 2 years old, this kid might be a boy genius, and not just because he's such a big Fox fan.
Who's that?
Wally.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Who's that? Colonel Hunt. And next one after that? That's Shepard's. Okay, next one. President Bush. Next one. Who's that?
For Tuesday coverage on Fox News Channel, America's Newsroom.
Welcome back to Sunday Best. Fox is the #1 cable news network, and we've got a lot of very dedicated fans. But man, are they starting them young. We didn't know how young until this 2-year-old appeared on Dayside with Linda Vester.
Well, the other day, our Fox News staff found out there was this little boy genius in South Dakota who, at the age of 2.5, knows every anchor and every show on the Fox News Channel. So we just had to meet him, and here he is. Will Pearson and his parents, Jackie and Bill. Welcome. It's nice to have you.
Thank you.
So we had to, make sure that you weren't somehow forcing your beautiful 2-year-old child to recite the names of anchors and stuff on the Fox News Channel. It actually turned out to be something totally different. You just had the TV on in the background.
Oh,
there's Will. There's Will. There you are. Right. You ready, Will? Okay, here we go.
Look down there.
Ready for the pictures? Who's that?
Wally.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Who's that? Colonel Hunt. Good job. And next one after that? That's Shepard's. Okay, next one.
Say it
loud.
President Bush. Next one. Who's that?
Edwards.
John Edwards. And one more. John Kerry. Will, can you come over here for a second so I can give you something? Yeah. Okay.
I didn't see Linda.
Come on over.
Be careful.
I just want to see how you look in this thing. Ready? Here we go. Can I put this on you? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, let's see how you look.
Ready, turn around. Can you see him? Camera 1? There he is. How about that? How about camera 6? Woo, that's way cool. So I have a question for you. I have a daughter. Will you take her to the prom someday? Yeah. Because you're pretty much the only guy I'd trust her with. Oh, wait, we have one more. We have a message from one of your other favorite anchors here on the Fox News Channel. Okay, can you watch it right there with me? Okay.
Hi, buddy. Can you guess who this is, Will?
Geraldo.
Yeah.
That's right, Geraldo Rivera. I'm here with my friends from the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment in Iraq. How you doing, buddy?
And you promise you're not sitting him at home and making him do this?
Oh no, he just
he won't let us
people.
switch the channel.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Serious?
Are you? What does he do if you try to switch the channel?
He takes the remote away and puts it on Fox News.
Do you really do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I take the remote and put on Fox.
We've all fallen in love with him. He is too cute. Well, for tickets to Dayside with Linda Vester, you can call the number. It's on your screen. It is 1-877-FOX-TKTS. And that is our show for tonight. Hope you enjoyed seeing what you might have missed this past week or seeing that special segment just one more time. It is time to close up Studio A until 6 tomorrow morning. That is when Fox and Friends will fire up the cameras again. I'm Jane Skinner for America's Newsroom. Have a good night.